My name is Rebecca Carlton, and I am the artist who created Are We Listening? And it's nice to see so many returning folks and to see a lot of new people here with us this evening. So thank you for joining us for our evening conversation of listening to Door County artists actors. And thank you to all of the actors who have kindly agreed to be part of the conversation this evening. This piece was started 7 years ago. And it started when I read an article saying that there were 6,910 spoken languages in the world. My jaw dropped. I took a breath. I could not believe that there were that many languages in our world. And I started thinking about the diversity of cultural traditions, how we tell stories, how we negotiate our world, how we compromise, what kind of food do we eat, what kind of music do we sing, what kind of clothing do we wear, how do we get along. And all of that prompted me to want to pay homage and respect and recognize the cultural diversity in our world and the languages that we all speak. And for most of us, that's part of our heritage. That's part of our ancestral home as well. Where are our families from? There's 3 configurations. I'm not going to go into them. You can read my artist statement on the wall, and that explains them. But the birds represent 10% of those 6,910 languages. So there's 692 birds because there's a title bird. On the bellies of the birds, you'll see that there's a language, a country, and a number of speakers of that specific language. I want to mention for a second Papua New Guinea, that 2 days ago they had a horrendous mudslide in their country. In Papua New Guinea, there's 849 spoken languages. They're not dialects, they're individual languages. And I think about that community of 2,000 people who have passed away due to that mudslide. That could be a whole language community. It could now be extinct. And I just give pause to that because I just can't believe it. Sorry, I don't mean to get emotional, but that's how committed I am to recognizing and honoring people. Let's see. Okay, that's enough. So I would like to introduce this evening's panel. And as I said, welcome to Listening to Door County Artists, series of panel conversations. They're on Tuesday evenings during the months of May and June. And you are invited to sit and listen to almost 50 of Door County's resident artists. These very enlightening conversations are focused on the artists, each giving an opportunity to talk about their practice and for our community to listen. Each event will focus on artists in specific mediums. We've had musicians and visual artists. Tonight we have actors. Soon we'll have writers and filmmakers and women visual artists. I hope you'll return for the other conversations. Let's see. Okay, we hope you will join us to learn about some of the artists who have planted seeds and established roots in our Door County artistic community. Our panel conversation celebrates these brilliant Door County actors. Thank you for joining us this evening. The Actors Board conversation will be moderated by Claire Morkin. Claire is a local arts board member, a Door County Supervisor, a singer, actress, and board member for the Third Avenue Playworks. In addition to introducing the panel members, I have asked each to share a line from one of their favorite performances. It is a treat to reveal to you what they have each said. I hope they will tell us a little bit about their selection during the conversation. And if not, you'll just have to keep guessing why they picked these lines. The skilled panel members are Amy Ensign, actor, director, performed with all of our Door County theater companies. She's a theater educator and is Door Shakespeare's producing artistic director. Her line was as Portia in The Merchant of Venice. That light we see is burning in my hall. How far that little candle throws his beams. So shines a good deed in a naughty world. Cherryl Fonfara is a lifelong professional in the arts, member of AFTRA, SAG, CFM, former AEA, originally from Chicago. She does voiceover, studio, and she's a live singer. Moved to Sturgeon Bay in 2017 and formed Bayside Readers Theater, which are radio plays. She's with Desk Door Knockers, which is our comedy improv group, Isadora Theater. A line from the play Cherryl is currently working on, Uncanny Valley, and I quote, "We've all behaved in ways we would rather not have to remember."
Yeah.
Since 2006, theater maker Dan Klarer has worked in the professional Door County theater community as a performer, fight director, stage manager, costume designer, and arts advocate. Dan's line is from every brilliant thing. 1 million. Listen to a record for the first time, turning it over in your hands, place it on the deck, and putting the needle down, hearing the faint hiss and crackle of the sharp metal point on the wax before the music begins, then sitting and listening while reading through the sleeve notes. Alan Kopischke, actor, director, intimacy coordinator, or choreographer, and I will add, the producer of Door County Kinetic Arts Festival. Quote, "I have been thinking about sex all day. Can't get it out of my mind." Picasso at the Lapin Agile by Steve Martin at Steppenwolf. I told you there were pretty interesting treats. Mark Moede, I'm sorry to say that he cannot join us this evening. He actually came down with COVID a week ago, and he's been quite ill. He sends his regrets and his love to all of his fellow colleagues as well. I want to read something that he sent to me. Mark told me that he's an actor. Quote, "Act well your part. There are all the honor lies." Unquote. When I invited him to participate, he said, "It would be a great pleasure to participate in this conversation. It has long been my hope that we humans could at some point join with all other inhabitants of this earth in moments of synchronicity to form a cohesive union. I am imagining the flights of starlings, the dances of schools of fish, the connectedness of mycelium touching all living things. I'm imagining a choir of all those languages, singing, bringing, touching, and hearing in harmony the voice of God." So we will miss him tonight and hope him speedy recovery. So I'm going to turn it over to Claire now. Thank you.
Thank you, Rebecca. Yay. Yeah. Thank you so much, everybody, for being here. What a thrilling evening it is to sit with my compatriots here and have all of us join together in this wonderful evening. Door County has a long and distinguished history of live theater and the performing arts. From Peninsula Players Theater, which had its first production in July of 1935, to the legendary Paul Sills Story Theater, to American Folklore Theater, now Northern Sky, and initially the Heritage Ensemble, which first performed in the Peninsula State Park in 1970. Door Shakespeare first performed in the beautiful gardens at Bjorkland in 1999, and Third Avenue Playhouse, now Playworks, first opened its doors to the community in 2000 and became a professional theater in 2012. Alongside these companies, there have been wonderful community theater groups such as Isadora Theater, Rogue Theater, Desk Door Knockers, and the most recently added Bayside Readers Theater. In addition to the stage, several independent and feature films have also been produced in this beautiful place we call home. I'm honored to be in the company of my fellow actors this evening as we explore this topic, being an actor in Door County. Each of our panelists submitted a question or two to be included in tonight's discussion. I'll be directing the question to only one person, but I'd like it to be an open discussion. So if anyone feels the need to chime in, please do. My first question is for Mr. Dan Klarer. Why do you want to do your art in Door County? Thank you, Alan.
Great question, Claire. I have talked a lot about this, particularly in the last couple of years, and coming out of COVID. I feel like a lot of people in many industries, but specifically the arts, have reassessed what their needs are in this world and how they go about being a citizen of the world. And for me, I racked my brain during the pandemic on when I couldn't do my art and my job, on what was it about my career that kept me going, and how could I find those things potentially in other avenues. And it kept coming back. I kept coming back to the idea of community. And community, I think, drives us all, whether it's not only just being part of a community, but evolving and forwarding your own community, perhaps stepping away from your community when you need to. So there's both sides of the coins there. But I have always felt like Door County has such a vibrant arts community, specifically with theater and with the kind of unbelievable amount of theater that's happening up here. 4 equity theaters, multiple community theaters, and more popping up all the time. And I've always been an advocate of, like, the more theater, the better. It doesn't matter what you're doing, as long as it's being put out there. That's awesome. And somebody will be affected by it, and it will change and help the community in some way, whether that is someone being a part of it or someone being affected by it in the audience, or just the mere fact that there are choices for those coming up to the county and being able to have the opportunity to go to a piece of theater regardless of your financial background or situation, and regardless of what type of theater you like or don't like, because what are we doing if not holding up the mirror? And I just said to Jacob Jansen, the artistic director at Third Avenue Playworks, I was excited to hear that there was some folks that were not liking a certain performance. I can't remember which one we were talking about, but I was like, that's great, right? That we're affecting people. That's the point, right? Whether that's good or bad is neither here nor there. It's making people think and making the community create an opinion and create, that's culture, I think, at its heart, right? So I chose Door County and continue to choose Door County as my artistic home because of the community. And every time I go somewhere else in the world, whether that's Scotland or Seattle or New York or Chicago or anywhere else, I am always in the back of my mind going, would I rather do my art here, or would I rather go back to Door County? And as you can all see, I'm sitting right here. So I choose Door County.
Wonderful.
Thank you, Dan.
I have a very different son.
There you go.
Yes, I have a very different answer to that question.
Great.
Yeah, I think your answer was fabulous and so well thought out, and I really appreciate you sharing that. I was looking for a place to live with my young family, my 6-month-old at the time. I was living in San Francisco. I was looking for a home where I could purchase a house, maybe someday. Living near the water would be great. Near family, even better. And then on some visits to my folks who had chosen Door County as their home after my dad retired from the military, it became clear that it was here that all of those things could happen. And the professional theaters and the art and the culture of the community also drew me as much as the YMCA and the family fun room with my 6-month-old. And then what happened is that the acting opportunities arose after I came here. I always thought I would be in the audience, from about the time that I decided to have a family until the time that I got my first job in Door County. So it kind of was a rebirth of my professional career, and one that I never, ever thought would happen. That came from choosing to live in a place that was rich in culture and rich in theater and rich in acting opportunities, that then allowed me to readdress an interest that I thought was long gone.
Thank you, Amy. Thanks, Cheryl.
I do have a boomy voice. I have a kind of similar, but I was done. I was retired. I'm a singer who really can't sing anymore, just because I was a jingle singer in Chicago, and it took a lot of skill and a lot of control. And now my voice goes, you ain't gonna control me. So I haven't come to terms with that yet. I don't know if I ever will. So it's done. I've been a professional all my life, and I was done. And then I came and retired here. And then I started to look around and found some friends who made me laugh, death door knockers, and started to take some chances. And then I found out I wasn't done. So here I am with Bayside Readers Theater, which is a nostalgia radio stuff that we do in the winter months, and Isadora. And because of Door, I don't feel done.
Thank you, Cheryl.
Yes, please.
It's okay. Hello. You've all spoken so beautifully, but I'll quickly just riff on a couple of points. One is that early in my career, it was really important to me to be on the biggest stages and perform in front of a lot of people in the biggest cities for the biggest companies. And then I took a break for a little while, and we moved up here, and I did the drawer boy at Third Avenue Playworks, and Farmer came up to me. The space only held 85 people, and maybe an audience of 50 or 60 that night. Farmer came up to me after the show and said, I don't go to the theater much. I don't really get an opportunity to see my life and my experience on stage, but thank you for letting me see that in you and your performance tonight. And I went, I could have done the show just for him. I didn't need the big audience. I didn't need all that. And so it's really special for me for the connection I have with the community here. The other thing I just want to riff on is we were talking about this the other day. we go to the theater and sometimes we don't like the show as much as we like the other ones we did. And for some people that's, well, why did I go to the theater? I didn't like that. I think I want my money back. I'll go. And, do you call up the Green Bay Packers and ask for your money back when you go and they lose or they play sloppy or something? When I go to see a show and I don't like it, I'm still excited and engaged, and my brain is tickled by the experience. Even if things didn't ultimately work, I'm still looking at it and going, oh, look what they were trying to do there. They didn't quite make it, but that interests me and I want to pursue that further. So that's the other thing I want to say.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you. All right, my next question I'll direct towards Amy, but I love it when everybody answers because it's wonderful to hear all of your thoughts. What are the challenges of being an actor in Door County?
Okay. The challenges of being an actor in Door County, a working actor in Door County. The distance is a challenge. I work, all of my work is in Door County, probably because of the challenges of going outside to Milwaukee and Chicago. So that is definitely a challenge. You send your resume and you write your letter and you get the audition and then you've got an 8-hour drive to get there. It's a little different now since the pandemic. People and theaters have accepted digital submissions, so you can send in a monologue in an email, but it's just not the same. It's really difficult to get work that way. So those are, I think that's the biggest challenge for me is the distance has somewhat limited my work. But as I said earlier, it's where I choose to be and where I choose to work, and I love it because of it.
Anyone else?
No.
Dan?
I mean, the challenge question is tricky because the career itself is in many ways a challenge in any market, right? And Door County has, I think it's because it has such diversity in its art within the theaters that are available. There's, I have been working here pretty steadily, either year-round or mostly seasonally since 2006, and I consider myself so lucky. But and Amy and I and Mark Moede, I think, are the only 3 in the Door 4 Club, and we've worked at all 4 of the theaters, and I'm coining that door 4. And I have always, their audition season rolls around in theater. That a lot of times, like, auditions will mostly happen for a season somewhere between Christmas and spring, kind of first few months of the year, and it's always kind of nerve-wracking for an actor. Certainly in a bigger city, because you're like, I don't know if I'm going to have work this year. And Door County is similar but different because, I'm having these conversations because of being part of the community here. I am having those conversations with the theaters all the time. Like, oh, what are you thinking? What do you, I'd love to work here again. And I'm always trying to, I want diversity in my own art, and it's so refreshing to me to be able to do a small little like black box theater or something at TAP, and then do a broad comedy musical at Northern Sky, do some like really solid Shakespeare out in the garden. I mean, like all 4 theaters have such unique specifications and patron experience and artist experience that I the challenge is like, oh, what if this is like, this feels really privileged, but like, what if I have to choose? What if somebody wants me to do? I know, but that's that because we have such a small, close-knit community of locals up here. All of the theaters are, certainly wanting to use as many locals as possible because the audience also likes to see locals on stage. So, doing theater in Door County isn't necessarily a challenge, but it's like small challenges. Oh, I have to drive 40 minutes to get to work, or I stopped doing the audition down in Chicago and like trying to get work elsewhere because I don't want to do that, right? Like that is a challenge. If I wanted to be in Chicago or, throw myself into the hat in New York stuff, I could do that, but then I'm taking myself away from this community and the art that I like to do up here. So.
Yeah, as much as those bigger communities really want another old white guy, because they're really lacking those among the acting pool. Actually, I don't really have anything to add. You guys have covered it.
And that's just for you anyway, so.
So that'll work out just fine. How do you maintain your sense of being part of the greater theater community when you are in this smaller, more remote area?
Yeah, that's actually kind of what I was going to pivot to from why is it hard to be an actor up here. I do miss being part of a large theater community where you're going to all sorts of different shows at all sorts of different theaters, that there's a large community of actors and designers and directors and technicians and so forth that you're seeing on a regular basis. You're going to half a dozen auditions a week, and you're seeing all of these people and feeling a part of it. Now, we've had more folks moving up here who are, professional actors who have that experience of like doing this on a regular basis. And there's more of that community now. But I found when I moved up here, like all of a sudden I wanted to watch all of the awards shows to just sort of feel that sense of community. I read some of the periodicals, the Hollywood Reporter and American Theater and stuff like that. I read that more regularly than I did when I was in Chicago or Milwaukee or San Francisco. And I go to Madison, I go to Milwaukee and Chicago and New York and Tisch Mills and all these places to go see stuff to help keep feeding that need to be part of the greater community.
Anybody else?
I'm just at opening night and at closing night for Door Shakespeare. I look around the room and I see all of these amazing folks that have come from New York and Chicago and Door County and Minneapolis. And I'm always floored about the generosity of everyone in the proverbial room, in our case, around the campfire, of them moving their homes up here for the summer and sharing their work. And at the same time, I am so proud to live here, and to say, we want you to share your work. We want to see you on the stage. You are performing for my family, my neighbors, and my friends. And I am it's definitely a two-way street of being proud of both the community that we bring up here and also the community that they offer when they come.
Sure. In Chicago, everybody hustles, really hustles, because it's expensive there. And you want to keep on working because there are steps that you have to make. You've got to go through the gatekeeper first. You got to get your audition, then go to the gatekeeper, and then keep on coming back until you finally get the gig. And everybody is always looking over their shoulder in Chicago. So sometimes I think, damn, I miss Chicago. I don't know why. Then I go back to Chicago and I go, damn, I have to go back home. Because there's not a lot of depth in community theater here. And in that for talent, because, well, you do have depth, but you don't have like depth in certain ages, you know. There are certain huge gaps, which you'd never have in Chicago because everybody wants to be an actor in Chicago. But that's the delight of doing theater here, is that everybody is ready to take a chance. You know, you don't have to walk through the stages to get to the stage. You know what I mean? Everybody know what I mean. So that's what I love about this place, because you get to be creative, although I'm never getting paid. But I digress. But it's all right because it's fun. And you don't get to do that in Chicago.
Cheryl, hang on to that mic there. The next question's for you.
I want to just add one thing. Just want to add
please,
one thing.
Please.
Amy brought up a point that when the opening and closing night, you're feeling as much as we feel all the tourists and everyone else coming up to see Door County and be in Door County, we are also feeling like I think we forget within our individual contracts and theaters that, oh yeah, there's a whole bunch of theaters and we're all the same, we're all actors and we're all coming up for a job, right? So there's, we gotta get focused in, we get our blinders on to do the show and do the work, but there's a lot of opportunities, and I think people, especially in recent years, have tried to make opportunities for the actors to also intermingle throughout the theaters and know oh yeah, they're all coming in from all out of town, and that is a big part of how I feel like I keep my pulse on the greater theater community, because we do have so many wonderful people coming up, and everybody we're the lucky ones because they're coming to us. They're all like, you live in Door County? That's great. I always want to work in Door County. Because it's such a great, I think it's such a great opportunity and such a fun atmosphere. Yeah, and whatever season you're coming up here for, people are just, I think, more and more seeing us as an extension of the greater theater community, regardless.
Thank you, Dan.
Thank you for adding that. Cheryl, do you think we need trigger warnings in theater?
Trigger warnings.
And maybe talk a little bit about what that is, because I think that's a new thing for some folks, and it was for me.
Everybody can get offended by anything. And trigger warnings for flashing lights, that's fine. But trigger warnings within the script itself feels like censorship. And the whole thing about plays is I could play a murderer, kill 5 people in my play, and you would buy me a drink if you saw me in a bar. That was great. You really killed them, really. But it's our freedom as artists, and it's not an easy gig. Our freedom as artists to show the world what we can show you without worrying about, should I have said that word? So I'm not for trigger warnings about the text of the script.
Anybody else?
So first, I just want to note that the language is moving towards content warnings, as trigger is actually a clinical kind of thing, and so talking about content warnings is probably a better way to talk about what we're looking for here. And I think some places have gone to a system where they say, there are some things in this production that you may need to know about going in. Contact the box office if you want to know about it. So you're not spoiling what might be a surprise in the play or trying to figure out every single thing. You're going to list this long list of, there's, like you see on the TV shows sometimes, Game of Thrones, okay, there's going to be nudity and violence and simulated sex, and there's going to be all this stuff. And just letting the audience know that if you think you might be sensitive about something, contact the box office and we'll tell you what's going on. And then everybody else doesn't need to hear about that. So I think that's a way to deal with some people's sensitivities, but without having to go as far as, I think, what is the core of what you're objecting to there. So that's something I've seen that I think is worthwhile.
That's a good way to put it, content warning. And that's a brilliant idea. You should shop that.
Anybody else have an opinion about that? Dan or Amy?
I mean, our world is changing, right? And I think theater is so resilient because it evolves with the changes in our culture, and it ebbs and flows. Something that's really risque now might not be in 10 years or 5 years. Something that would be considered a trigger warning now, maybe 20 years ago or 50 years ago or 10 years ago, was just happenstance. And now people are going, oh, actually, you know what, that doesn't make me feel good. And I think it comes down to if it affects you, that is yours to deal with, and not someone else's. I don't think we should censor others for our own comfort. That's, I think, a boundary issue. And if you have a boundary with, I know that this word triggers me, or I am very sensitive to this situation, and I'm going to go see a play or a movie where if I'm going in blind and I know that I have this sensitivity, that's on me. That's totally on me. If I'm going in and I don't have it, I don't feel like I have that sensitivity, and it does affect me, and I didn't know that, that's also ultimately not on everyone else to cater to me. That's on me to know myself. And that's a really tricky situation that I think our industry is very public right now because of it, and I keep hearing quotes and people certainly there's a generational aspect to that. There is also a cultural aspect depending on what community you're in, or if you're in Chicago, or if you're in New York, or if you're in a really small town, or if you're in a place where that's heavily religious or heavily political one way or the other. It doesn't matter. Context is queen, as my girlfriend says. The English major.
Anybody add at all?
There's nothing good or bad, but thinking makes it so. That's Hamlet. But I think I can speak a little bit to when folks call me about children coming to see a show. And I totally agree with everybody here in that I have no idea. You know, my little guy went to see everything because I felt like, hey, if he comes to me and asks me a question, what better way to start talking about that subject if it's coming from him? I saw this. And then I also found if he wasn't ready to answer the question, it didn't come because it just, to ask the question, the question didn't come because it just went straight over his head. But when a parent calls to ask, I say, what is it that you're concerned about? And I can catalog it as in, well, you will see X, Y, and Z, but it ultimately is that person's decision, absolutely. And I had never thought of it that way, Dan, that, setting those boundaries for other people is then kind of making those boundaries a little fuzzier than what they should be. So we present it, and we're happy to answer questions, but ultimately it's the person in the audience's decision. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
If I'm triggered by heightened text, I probably shouldn't go see a Shakespeare show, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we laugh about that, but how can we know? Yeah. Right.
Thank you. Should actors be free to play any role, regardless of race, sexual identity, etc.?
Holy moly.
Sorry.
Was that my question?
These are the hard-hitting questions.
I'm trying to mix it up a little. I think that was Mark Moede's question. You can blame him.
I think Mark Moede should be allowed to play anyone.
That is a very difficult question.
Oh, I know. I'm so sorry.
Okay, could you repeat it again?
Sure. Should actors be free to play any role, not dependent on race, sexual identity, etc.? Line casting, more or less.
I think that that's a very difficult question. I think that should they be allowed? I think that's such a hard way
that
to
wording
put it.
is strange because they don't choose.
I can say that I cannot culturally represent accurately anyone but a 55-year-old white woman. But if a director asks me to bring that point of view to a different situation, I'll work my darndest to do it. But I do believe that if a role is specific on a culture, a race, a sexuality, that we should do our darndest to find people that represent that truthfully and accurately.
Lovely answer.
Lovely answer.
I think first off, it's not primarily up to the actor. I think first off, the playwright may make their intentions clear about how they want it done. And then it is up to the producer and the director to make those decisions about who they're offering it to. And you ask an actor if they want to play a role, they're going to say yes. And, it's so hard to say no to work, especially, an exciting piece of work, and you might be blinded to the ways in which you are not appropriate for that role. Now, Anna Devere Smith has written multiple plays where she specifically wants people to be playing different than their identity, gender, racial, etc. And it is meant to illuminate different things in that way. So we have to start with what the playwright's intent is. And then the director and the producer have to be sensitive to, is this really right for this person to play this role? And it's conditional. I don't think there's any way to say, here's the bright line between what's appropriate and what isn't. And yeah, the decision should not be put in the actor's hands. If you're mad that some actor played a role, don't get mad at the actor. Get mad at the director and the producer who made that decision.
I think short answer, no. I don't think anyone should be. It's not a matter of being allowed. It's a matter of discrimination and being heard. Again, context is queen. Plays like that, the context of that play is saying a very specific thing with these specific parameters. If that is not discriminating or harming anyone emotionally, mentally, meant to like really.
Sorry.
Oh. If only everyone that had their phone on in a theater had that. It was just like a little.
Sorry.
Like, please turn your ring. You can turn your phones off, but please just, if you don't, just turn them to a nice little angel's dingle. Dingle.
Sorry, it's my.
No. How do you make an actor sweat? Ask them a question that potentially would hurt their chances of getting work. So that these are really good questions. They're very poignant questions. They're also very I look around this room and I'm seeing a very specific demographic of people, specifically this panel, and that's not bad. It's not bad. We weren't, there was nothing that said to Rebecca, are you going to allow this panel to be a certain way? No, this is our community, and we want to represent our community right now. This is also the people that were available on the night. Lucky us, lucky you. So in the global sense of the question, I think it all depends. Obviously, I think there's the thing that comes to people's mind are the blaring, should we allow blackface? No, I really don't think we should. And there are plays where that is used to satirical or parody, and even if it's not discriminatory, it is still not culturally appropriate in our modern day. And therefore, yes, I don't think someone should be allowed to do that anymore. So short answer for me is no, we shouldn't be allowed. And no but, no and, context is always queen.
Yes. Did everyone have a chance to?
Yes. Thank you, Cheryl.
There are certain plays or casting decisions that I sit back and puzzle myself on. But I like to stay kind of true to what the playwright wants. Sometimes, of course, race can be interchangeable, but you've got to be a certain type. And that doesn't matter what color you are. So for me to be cast as a teenager would be a stretch. But I can probably play a little younger than I am if I get a lot of sleep. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to make it a stand-up. But, so I do respect the casting decisions, but I do believe that in this open world, we should always regard all colors and just look at type.
Thank you. Let's see. Who do I ask this one? Dan. Sorry. It's you. How do we involve the community if they want to be on stage? How do we truly involve the community?
How do we truly involve them?
Yes.
That's an easy and a large answer. I think all of the theaters and arts organizations are constantly striving to involve the community in many various ways. Just because I am in the middle of things at Third Avenue Playworks, it springs to mind their initiative at the library, the Check Out Door County initiative. So TAP is providing 2 free tickets to each branch of the library for each show in the season. And it's first come, first serve. And they're trying to, that's a fair amount of tickets for the amount of libraries and seats, even though it's 2 per branch. But if someone wants to see a play and they either don't want to or can't afford it, but they want to see something, we have options available. We want people to see the art, experience the art. In terms of involvement, I think the theaters are constantly trying to get the elusive arts in the school district phenomenon is always at our fingertips and never quite close enough. But we're always looking for, and trying to provide opportunities for students to be involved. Workshops where we can. There's 2 sides of the coin. It's a business. We're running a business. Door County is a tourist community in many ways. And it's becoming less of that. It's becoming more of a year-round community and less of a seasonal thing. But theaters have. So, they're nonprofits. They have to make money to keep going. And so, bottom line, they need to put butts in seats and, that whole shebang. But the only way to keep cultivating that audience is things like wine night at Door Shakespeare and things like, not just the fundraisers, but the volunteer effort. Door County Theater absolutely could not run without the volunteers and people that just want to be involved in some way, just want to be near the theater, the arts community. And so we're so incredibly grateful. And Northern Sky does a big picnic for their volunteers every year, and they provide entertainment. They have food. It's a big potluck, and those are the types of things that are giving back to the community. And so it's some of it is a little more the strive, the wanting to try to find new ways to involve the community. Whether that is executed is neither here nor there. If somebody wants to be involved in the theater, there are ways. And one of the arts organizations up here will always have you. And there's always people like this panel here, and I'm sure many of you that within the arts community, they're gonna point you in the right direction.
Thank you, Dan. Anyone else? Sure.
I have a different way of looking at it. I think if you really want to act, buy a play money and get your friend to do the part with you. It's a fun thing to do. If you really want to have some fun, when you're at your dinner, pull out an improv exercise. It loosens everybody up. And if you really want to act, you start there. And if you like it a lot, then audition for community theater. But yes, volunteering is wonderful. But sometimes you really gotta act.
Do you want to add to that, Amy? You don't need to. But
On a panel, of course, it's all about me. But in high school, between my junior and senior year, I went from a school that did 5 shows a year in Northern Virginia, just outside of DC, to a school that did 1 show a year. And that was my first experience producing, was I did exactly what you suggested. I picked up a play and I cast my friends and we put it on in the cafeteria. And that year, there were 2 plays.
Wonderful, wonderful. I would like to ask this next question of each one of you, and then segue it into the audience questions, because if anyone else would like to answer this question in the audience, would love to hear your thoughts as well. What kind of theater is missing in Door County? Is there a gap that needs to be filled? Alan, would you like to go first?
Sure. I love weird, rule-breaking, crazy theater. That we have a hard enough time getting enough people to come to more mainstream stuff. But I did a lot of experimental theater and new stuff, especially in San Francisco and Chicago, and I would love to go see something weird and crazy, but I know it would be me and 4 other people sitting there watching that. But yeah, we could go. We could do it, and then we could do it for each other. I don't know. That's
No.
Yeah. All right. Great. We'll start a weird theater company.
The weird door, yeah. I have actually thought about this several times.
Oh, good.
I really think that Door County would benefit from having a true children's theater. I know there are I know there are groups, there's wonderful groups that travel around the country and travel around Wisconsin, and a lot of the bigger cities have either, Chicago has Chicago Kids Company and Chicago Children's Theater Madison, First Stage, but theater for young audiences by young audiences is something that is not up here. I agree with the weird, experimental theater and the no trigger warning necessary. This is what it is. Just know that you're coming into something crazy. And the thing that I feel like every theater that I've worked for up here has always yearned for this, but it's the late night cabaret sketch thing. So whether it's a parody of a show that's going on right now, this conversation has happened every season or every run at Northern Sky and American Folklore that I've had. But oh man, wouldn't it be great if we could just do the show or switch parts, or do the I don't really want drunk Shakespeare up here. I have experienced that many places, and it is fine for Edinburgh Fringe, but yeah, that's a different type of theater. But the what if Door Shakespeare does a a Northern Sky show and vice versa. Because there are a lot of times, and I'm not in on these conversations. I don't know if they even happen, but the artistic directors do program occasionally shows that are either of the same ilk, same theme, or variations on a theme. There are quite a few Northern Sky shows that are based off of a Shakespeare show, and we have many years in the past done them both in the same year. And I always thought that, that is a fun thing to, one, bring audience into multiple theaters to see a different version of this story, but to also get the players involved and have that. So yeah, that sketch thing is,
I think I've approached all of the door floor about a children's theater. and I think it's there. We just need to find the funding. Yeah. But absolutely, I think that would be wonderful. And then
perhaps you could be the first backers in the Door County Children's Theater.
Yeah. And then the late night, every now and then it rains, and we had to stop a show at Shakespeare last year, and we all went into the dressing room, and I knew it was going to be a great season when they all picked up their instruments and did the rest of the show anyway in the dressing room, but they traded instruments. Yeah, it was fun.
At the Players in the 90s, we would have Christmas in July, and a bunch of us would write sketches that were usually mashups of the shows, all 4 or 5 shows of the season, and that was our sketch comedy fun.
Cheryl?
The thing that I feel I would like to see the major players, the 4 major players, but you always do that. Never mind, not the 3, the other 3. To do some dramas without singing. I love musicals to a point, and I love laughing, but I long for a good drama once in a while. That's what I miss. Oh, and they should hire some senior players. Because I understand that everybody wants to get younger people in because, our fan base will die. However, it would be nice for the senior people who are in the audience to identify with a senior person up there who's doing a really wonderful job. And sometimes it's nice to have a senior woman, because we do have senior men, Scrooge, we have Doug Manchesky. You guys did a wonderful 3-person play, Tap, but there's hardly any senior, roles for us. And I would like to challenge somebody to write a senior play that doesn't involve Alzheimer's or dementia, something fun. I challenge somebody to that. Call me.
Thank you. Thank you so much, everyone. Now to all of you. Does anyone out there have any thoughts to share in addition? Oh, you would. Go ahead, Ross. Do you want one of these? Oh, thank you, Alan.
Look at the microphones. Oh, go over. Yes.
There was once upon a time in Door County, there was something called the community musical, which was done at Southern Door. This was back 20 years ago, when every year in Southern Door there was a major musical produced for the community. And Isadora used to do that as well. They had They produced Chicago, which I had the privilege to direct. They also produced Sondheim's Assassins, and they produced studio production of, what was that? They did it at Birch Creek. The song with Vanilla Ice Cream.
She loves me.
She Loves Me. They did a studio version of that. So that's something, personally, that I would like to see happen in Door County, the big community musical. Because that, in my experiences around community theater, that is a community building exercise. People from across the community get together, and the band gets together, and the cast gets together, and the volunteers, and everybody gets together, and they all work together to create something. And that's something that I miss about this community, and I really did enjoy my opportunities to do that. So that might be something that would be neat to come back to the Door community, that they have the opportunity to challenge themselves to create something beautiful and musical. That's what I think.
Lovely. Thank you so much, Ross. Anyone? Isabella, why don't you go ahead as long as the mic's right there?
I graduated from Sturgeon Bay High School. Thank you. I graduated from Sturgeon Bay High School in 2021. And we were very much one of those like one show a year schools like Amy talked about. And the year after I graduated, they became a 0 show a year school. And I think a children's theater sounds like a great idea. And I would also love for there to be something for those in between. Because a lot of, when I was in high school theater, the people that I was doing those shows with, they didn't really want to do things that were geared toward children. And just for a chance to, I used to sit and watch PBS and watch the Jimmy Awards streaming on PBS and sob as a high schooler. Just the chance for young people to get to do work that is taken seriously, and for them to see that there's musical comedy, but there are also musicals that really hit you in the heart. Because I think, when we would see theater in Door County, a lot of my classmates would look at me afterwards and think, is this really what you want to do with your life? And I was like, yes, it is. There are so many types of theater. And I think a lot of spaces here could be wonderful for Sondheim shows or Dave Malloy shows that really get you in with the audience and make you feel as if you're the only person in the theater, or even better, as if you're experiencing it with everybody, that, beautiful catharsis. And there are so many times I've experienced that here in Door County, and I just think that a lot more of that could be really wonderful. I'm grateful to have grown up in this community and to be here with all of you tonight.
Thank you so much. Did you have a question? Thank you, Amy.
I don't have a question. I have a comment, I guess. I saw my first play when I was 5 years old, and if you total up the years that I've been going to plays, it's 74. 74 years of play going. And one of the reasons we're here, my husband and I came to Door County, is because of the art community and the theater community. And I just want to say thank you to all of you for bringing this to people and giving them the opportunity to escape everyday lives and get brought in to the wonderful characters that you all portray, because it's so refreshing. Sometimes it's like, oh my God, it's like it touches your heart. You want to cry, you want to laugh, but you need that. People need that, and I thank you all so much. The entire art community here is amazing. So thank you.
Thank you so much. That was lovely. Thank you. All right, who else?
I'm sorry, she's still waiting.
Vaudeville. It is time for vaudeville to come back. Any of the theater companies could help people put an act together. A sister act, a couple of song and dance men, a dog act, some jugglers. a couple of singers, this would not be that hard. We need great costumes, and you need to work up 7 minutes. 7 minutes. And it could travel, or it could, just do it a couple of times a year. I think it's time to bring vaudeville back.
Thank you, Annie. Oh, Mike first. Can we come back to you, Ross? Thank you.
Thank you. We haven't talked about acting as a career and kind of advice and stories, love stories. My oldest daughter went to acting conservatory, and when she got to New York, she said, "This isn't for me," and now she's an incredible Montessori teacher in the west side of Manhattan. You all have interesting stories on how you got into the business. Can you talk a little bit about how it happened for you?
I couldn't think of anything else that I wanted to do, and I tried. But when I was thinking about going to college, I just thought, what am I going to study for 4 years? And I couldn't think of anything else that I had an interest in really delving into that. And so that's how that started. And that's the first question that I asked my son, who is now a sophomore BFA candidate in musical theater at UW-Milwaukee. I said, is there anything else that you could be happy with doing? And he said, no.
We used to slip into my son's bedroom, tiptoe, and went, proctologist. Just because we didn't want him to go into the arts, go anywhere but in the arts. But here he is in the arts. I couldn't imagine being anything else either. I was always taken by that Barbra Streisand audition where she walks into a funny girl and she's chewing gum. And she sits down on the stool and she takes her gum out and puts it underneath the stool. And then she proceeds to blow these people away with a phenomenal voice. She gets up after they say thank you. And the stage tech comes up and is like, how disgusting. And he goes to take off the gum and there was none. I was hooked from that. I was hooked. It was like, that is so cool.
I grew up as one of 4 brothers, and but my mom was very musical, played the piano and everything, so we all sang. And when I was 8 years old, she said, hey, they're doing this play, and they need some kids. Do you want to go audition? We didn't know what she was talking about. Sure, yeah. And we went and we sang for this guy, and he chose the 3 older of us, and my younger brother was too young. And it was the king and I was one of the king's children, and I got to do this fun bit where we all go meet Anna, the teacher, and we put our hands out and take her hands and bow to her. And the director said, okay, when you go up, put your hands out, realize they're dirty, wipe them on your butt, and then do the bow. It's like, okay, I did that, and it was fine. And opening night, we were doing this in Washington Park, and there were like thousands of people out there. A program called Music Under the Stars. And so we're doing the thing, and I go and I look at my hands and I wipe them on my butt. And there's this huge roar of laughter coming up from the audience, and I just turned and stared at them, and I thought, oh yeah, I want to keep doing this. So throughout the rest of my life, everybody said, no, that's something you do as an avocation, find your other thing. And I was really good at math, and it was math. So I went to school for math. And after a year, I went, something's missing. And I stayed not only because of the work, but because of the people. Theater people are my people. They're who I want to be with. And so the work and the people.
I could tell stories for hours of all the little, little plays I put on with my friends or cousins, or watching shows and thinking, oh man, that looks great, and then emulating and mimicking things, action movies or musicals that I grew up in school watching high schoolers go do this amazing production and then getting involved with it. And so there's that hierarchy of like, oh, arts are important. Oh, arts make me feel a certain way. I want to keep doing that. But ultimately, when I am asked this question of young artists, and whether they're K through 12 or college, people getting started in the business, and there's the dichotomy of like anything else. Would you do anything else? And there's that cliche that artists say that even though it is innate in them, and when it comes down to it, if you don't like don't go to New York because you think that's where the best theater is. Go to New York and experience theater. Go to art, experience art in multiple different places, see it in different countries and cultures. And if that is continuing to fulfill you as a human and as a citizen of the world, find a place that you want to live, find a community that you want to be in, and those opportunities will always be there, whether or not they are handed to you or you have to scrape to make them happen. I was out in Oregon. My girlfriend's out there. She's finishing and transitioning out of academia, and we had toyed with, oh, do I move out there? We've been in this long distance relationship. And my answer in my head, I'm going, I can't leave Door County. I can't do it. And I went out there, and there is no, other than the couple of Ashland, there's the Oregon Shakespeare Festival, there's like Portland stages. I don't want to live in Portland. I don't want to live near Ashland necessarily. Her job was in Salem, and all of the little towns, and Salem included, there was beautiful little community theaters where people barely got paid, and they're just doing their art, right? And that was fulfilling for them. And I would have had to, for me, I didn't want to leave my community because of that, because I saw what these people are like, okay, yeah, let's make the art happen. And I saw all the, every time I go to a small theater anywhere in the world, I read the plaques and I read like, when did this theater start and who got started? It started in the backyard and it started this, or so-and-so wanted to see this play, and in the cafeteria my friend and I made this play, and then all of a sudden it became a trend. So I have always said to young people in the arts, go find the place and the people that you want to be in and with, and if you can be happy doing your art in that place, then keep going. If it doesn't suit you anymore, find a different place or find something else to do, right? It sounds like your daughter was like, I don't want to leave New York. I want to be in Manhattan, right? And theater didn't serve her the same way as it used to. We're all beings of the universe, and we all evolve and change constantly. And, one thing, I don't think we're all meant to do one thing our entire life. I think we're really meant to change and evolve, and that's what's exciting. And that's why theater is exciting, because we are all constantly changing and evolving and going, I don't like this anymore. This makes me feel bad, or this makes me feel really good. I want to do more of this. That's my long-winded answer.
One more thing.
Yes.
Like, everybody should do this at least a little bit. It is such a thrilling experience, such an eye-opening experience. Part of what keeps me going is seeking understanding other people. And here you go, you have to inhabit this other person and all of their wants and fears and the way their brain works, how the world works in their head. And you get to do that time after time after time, and you start to understand other people better, and you start to have more empathy and generosity for other people. I love teaching young people just starting out in this. It is so thrilling seeing those realizations happen in them. I know Ross wanted it.
Well, this kind of, I think, maybe dovetails well. Dan, you kept talking about doing your art. One of the interesting things about, and just briefly, I used to do this as well. One of the interesting things about doing the art is that our art is a collaborative art. It takes a community. It takes a group of people. You can be a painter. You can sit in a room with a canvas and a palette and make art. As an actor, you need your community to make art. But the question I would like you guys to explore, living in Door County, how do you practice your art? Doing the art, going into the stage, going up, rehearsing the play, getting in front of an audience, do the art. But I recall my time in the professional theater, the rehearsal hall is not where you practice your art. You practice your art someplace else. So for you guys, where and how do you practice your art? Which leads me to another question. Is there room within this community for us to create a place to practice the art?
We have time to answer that, Rebecca, because I would love to continue, if that's all right with everybody. I know it's almost 8, but I'd love to hear folks.
I have a I'm going to say quick answer to that. I've always been one to never, I haven't fretted when I'm not doing a play, because a lot of actors, when they don't get into a show, they're like, oh God, what am I going to do? Oh, I have to get this job, or I have to make ends meet, and I have to blah, blah, blah. And I have always done all of my jobs, all of my day jobs and my supplementary jobs have always been part of my practice. If I was doing theater 24/7 all year round, I wouldn't be able to draw from the community and the world and the culture and, the thing that this character that I'm playing in this show right now is based off of this one human that I encountered time and time again at this bar that I was working at. Or, to actually be out in the world is tantamount and absolutely just as important as being in a show. To your question of how do we practice our art more formally, is there a place for people to act and to play theater games or do whatever that is, the practicing of the art, not the rehearsal or the actual show, but there are efforts to do more of that, I think, in the community. Several of the theaters are trying to put together workshops for people of all ages, put together, Northern Sky has their playwriting seminar group, and it's not necessarily for theater people, it's for anybody who wants to dabble in writing or dabble in writing for theater and talking about story. And the Sills workshop is still happening. Aretha Sills is still doing that up here every year. They do, I think, 2 sessions a year.
Yes.
Yeah, 2. So obviously it comes down to time, but are you available at this time to do this thing? But to what you said before, find a friend, pick a play, and go to the community room at the YMCA, or ask a theater and be like, hey, when do you have a dark something or a space that we could just work? And that's super simple. That's the simplest answer.
I like to eavesdrop because there are certain people that are very interesting in the public. So I like to just kind of casually look at them. And some of their mannerisms find my way into my character. So it's always got to be a particular, if you're working on a certain character, you've always got to be selective in who you're looking at. But just really listening to everybody that's around me, and that's always an illumination of practice. But it's not easy.
I memorize moments sometimes. I mean, everything that everyone has said is great, but if I'm feeling something that I haven't felt before, I'm like, okay, what's going on? And what do I smell? And what do I feel? And what am I doing? I do a lot of work late at night in my living room. And if you drive by, you'll see me performing to my bay window, and often the curtains are open. And I'll pick monologues and I'll read them, people I've always wanted to be, and I'll study them and I'll learn them, and I'll get ready for some audition that never happens. And then if I'm really, really, really lost, I'll go outside and work under my tiny little maple tree. And I don't know why, but for some reason, I always find growth under my tiny little maple tree.
Yeah, I guess when I don't have an acting gig, I'm just working all my skills. I'm a dork. I'm doing my articulation exercises in the car when I'm driving down here or down to Green Bay or whatever. I do all my physical stuff in the morning. I read plays and I'm constantly thinking, oh, why does he do that? And okay, how would that guy walk? And I'm constantly analyzing. I have the privilege to be able to teach young people theater, so we're always talking about it and analyzing and trying things out. So I guess I feel like I'm never not working on it. All the observation stuff, observing people, going, oh, that's an interesting walk, or a little tick, or oh, listen to that person's voice. You go, oh, and just kind of tuck that away for future reference. The guy at the bar, yeah.
Wonderful.
Thank you for that question. That was interesting. Thank you so much, all of you, for joining us tonight. And also, thank you. This was a lovely, lovely evening. And thank you. Thank you for being here, and thank you for supporting theater in Door County.
Can I say one more?
Oh, Amy, yes, please.
I'm reaching to the choir here, but if there's ever been a year that you said, gosh, I missed going to the Door 4, this is the year to do it. So please go to every show at every theater and bring 10 friends with you.
Yes.
Indeed. Thank you, Amy. Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you. Thank you, Rebecca.